Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a palace of marble and gold rising above the waters of Istanbul. The sound of call to prayer echoes from the minarets. But inside these royal walls, the air smells not of incense, but of perfume, gallons of it, poured into a swimming pool. This is not a fairy tale. This is the story of Sultan Ibrahim of the Ottoman Empire, a man remembered as one of the strangest rulers in history. Born in 1615, Ibrahim grew up in an empire that stretched across 3 continents. But his childhood was anything but normal. As a young prince, he spent years locked away in the palace, under constant fear of execution. This confinement, a practice meant to control succession, left him deeply scarred. By the time he finally became sultan in 1640, after the death of his brother Murad, Ibrahim was unstable, paranoid, and desperate to indulge every whim. And indulge he did. One of his most notorious obsessions was luxury without limits. He filled his palace with silks, jewels, and exotic animals. But this went beyond simple extravagance. Ibrahim believed that wealth itself carried mystical power. So he ordered precious gems, rubies, emeralds, even diamonds, to be crushed and mixed into his food. Yes, he ate jewels, convinced they would make him stronger, more virile, and closer to the divine. Of course, the human body is not meant to digest gemstones. But for Ibrahim, reason was less important than ritual. To his mind, swallowing diamonds was a way of swallowing eternity. And that wasn't his only eccentricity. One day, he commanded that the palace pool be drained of water and filled entirely with rosewater perfume. He wanted to swim, not in water, but in fragrance. Imagine the scene. Courtiers standing by, as the Sultan lowers himself into a pool of perfume so strong it would sting the eyes, all while believing it was an act of royal magnificence. Ibrahim's appetites extended far beyond jewels and perfumes. He was infamous for his obsession with women. Historical records, some exaggerated, some credible, claim he kept a harem of hundreds. In one bizarre episode, he reportedly ordered the entire harem to line up, and then, in a fit of jealousy, had more than 200 of them thrown into the Bosporus. Historians still debate whether this tale is myth or reality, but it speaks to the legend of a sultan whose impulses could turn deadly in an instant. At the same time, he demanded the empire supply him with absurd luxuries. He ordered massive shipments of fur, thousands of garments, lined with sable and ermine, despite living in the hot Mediterranean climate. The palace treasury bled under the weight of his indulgences, even as ordinary subjects faced famine and war. And yet, even in his madness, Ibrahim could be strangely poetic. He wrote letters to foreign rulers filled with flowery language and composed verses about love and longing. But the court whispered behind closed doors. They called him Deli Ibrahim, Ibrahim the Mad. As his reign dragged on, patience began to run out. The empire was suffering. Wars strained the army. The treasury was empty. And here was a sultan who dined on diamonds and swam in perfume. Finally, in 1648, the patience of the Ottoman elite snapped. The Janissaries, the empire's elite soldiers, stormed the palace. Ibrahim was deposed, imprisoned, and eventually executed. He was only 33 years old. His reign had lasted just 8 years. But in that short time, his legend grew so large that centuries later, he is still remembered as the sultan who ate diamonds. Today, historians look back at Ibrahim with a mix of fascination and caution. On one hand, he was a victim of the system that raised him, a child locked away, warped by fear, thrust into absolute power without stability. On the other, he was a ruler whose unchecked indulgence nearly bankrupted an empire. The story of Sultan Ibrahim is more than just a tale of jewels and perfume. It's a reminder of how absolute power can warp human desires into something bizarre, dangerous, even self-destructive. Because when a ruler believes he can swallow diamonds to gain strength, the question is not just about his madness. It's about the silence of those around him who let it happen. And that silence, in the end, proved more destructive than the jewels themselves.